stop trying to change your life by changing your circumstances, it will never work. You've been operating under a fundamental misunderstanding about how reality functions. You think the world around you is solid, fixed, independent of your awareness. You think circumstances create your internal state. You think you must first see results before you can feel successful, abundant, or loved. This is backwards, completely backwards. The world you're experiencing right now is nothing more than a faithful echo of what you've been silently declaring to yourself. Every circumstance surrounding you, every relationship, every opportunity or obstacle exists because at some level you've been in agreement with it. You cannot change the reflection by arguing with the mirror. There is a principle operating in your life right this moment that most people will never discover. It's not hidden because it's secret, it's hidden because it's too simple. Your persistent inner conviction creates your outer experience. Not sometimes, not occasionally, always. I'm going to show you exactly how this works, why you've been experiencing what you've been experiencing, and most importantly, how to deliberately architect a reality that reflects your deepest desires. But I must warn you, once you truly understand this, you can never again claim to be a victim of your circumstances. Let me start by exposing the fundamental error that keeps most people trapped in repetitive patterns. You wake up each day and assess your life based on what you can see, touch, and measure. Your bank balance determines whether you feel abundant or scarce. The behavior of others determines whether you feel loved or rejected. The events of yesterday determine what you expect from tomorrow. This is the trap. You've been treating the material world as the cause when it is only ever the effect. Think about the last time something didn't go according to plan. Maybe you lost a job opportunity. Maybe a relationship ended. Maybe your health declined. What was your immediate response? If you're like most people, you asked, "Why is this happening to me?" You treated yourself as the recipient of external forces beyond your control. But here's what was actually occurring. Your external world was simply reflecting back to you the state of consciousness you had been occupying. The job didn't disappear because the universe is cruel. It disappeared because somewhere within you there was a belief, an assumption that you were not secure, not valued, not enough. The relationship didn't end because you were unlucky. It ended because your inner conversation about yourself and connection had been one of doubt, fear, or unworthiness. The circumstances didn't create your internal state. Your internal state created the circumstances. This is the inversion that changes everything. Now, let me explain the mechanics of how your reality actually operates. Consciousness is the only reality. Everything you perceive as solid, fixed, and external is actually consciousness pushed out, manifested, made tangible. Your awareness is not passive, it is creative. It doesn't simply observe reality, it generates reality. And here's the key. Your awareness operates through assumption. An assumption is simply a belief you hold to be true without requiring external proof. When you assume something persistently, you are issuing a command to the creative power within you. You are selecting which version of reality you will experience. Let me be very clear about what this means. Right now, infinite possibilities exist simultaneously. There is a version of reality where you are thriving financially. There is a version where you are struggling. There is a version where you are deeply loved. There is a version where you feel alone. All of these exist as potential patterns of experience. Which one becomes your lived reality, the one you assume to be true? When you walk through your day assuming nothing ever works out for me, you are tuning your consciousness to the frequency of disappointment, and the universe, being impersonal law, delivers experiences matching that frequency, not as punishment, but as reflection. When you walk through your day assuming I am always supported, things unfold in my favor, you tune to a different frequency entirely, and the universe, being the same impersonal law, delivers experiences matching that assumption instead. The law doesn't judge your assumptions, it simply manifests them. You might be wondering, if this is true, why don't more people know about it? Why do so many people suffer needlessly? The answer lies in how we've been conditioned from birth. From your earliest memories, you were taught to rely on your senses. You were told that what you can see is what's real. You were taught to trust the evidence, to be realistic, to accept things as they are. This conditioning runs so deep that by adulthood, most people have completely inverted the creative order. They wait for circumstances to change before they change their internal state. They say, I'll feel abundant when I have money. I'll feel loved when someone loves me. I'll feel confident when I succeed. But this is backwards. The feeling must come first. The internal state must precede the external manifestation. Here's another reason this truth stays hidden. It places complete responsibility on you. And most people don't want that. It's far easier to blame the economy, other people, bad luck, or timing than to recognize that you are the sole author of your experience. When you accept this truth, you can no longer play victim. You can no longer point to external reasons for your dissatisfaction. You must face the reality that whatever you're experiencing, you've been in agreement with it at some level. This is uncomfortable. This is why people resist it, but this discomfort is also your doorway to freedom. Let me address the resistance you're likely feeling right now. Your logical mind is probably generating objections. What about things outside my control? What about injustice? What about when I truly didn't cause what happened to me? I understand this doubt. I've experienced it myself. But here's what you need to understand. I'm not suggesting you consciously chose every circumstance. What I'm saying is that your habitual state of consciousness, your dominant assumptions, created the conditions for those circumstances to enter your experience. There's a difference between conscious intention and unconscious creation. Most people are creating unconsciously, running programs of fear and limitation they inherited from family, culture, and past experiences. The moment you recognize this, you reclaim your power. You stop being an unconscious creator and become a conscious one. But let me be honest with you. Even when you understand this intellectually, there will be moments when appearances shake your faith. You'll affirm abundance, but the bill arrives. You'll assume health, but symptoms persist. You'll claim love, but feel alone. These moments are not evidence that the law doesn't work. They're evidence that your old assumptions are still playing out. Remember, the external world is always showing you what has been, not what must be. Your task in these moments is not to panic, not to abandon your new assumption, but to persist, to return again and again to the internal state you wish to embody, to feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled despite contrary evidence. This is the test, and those who pass it inherit their desires. Now let me give you the practical application of this principle. Living from the end means occupying now the state of consciousness you would occupy if your desire were already fulfilled, not hoping it will be fulfilled, not working toward fulfillment, but living as if it already is. First technique, the feeling exercise. Close your eyes and ask yourself, if I knew with absolute certainty that my desire is already mine, how would I feel right now? Would I feel relief, gratitude, Excitement? Calm assurance? Locate that feeling in your body. Let it spread through your chest, your limbs, your awareness. Breathe it in. This feeling is your creative tool. Carry it with you. Return to it throughout your day. This is not pretending. This is aligning with the version of reality you wish to experience. Second technique, revising your inner conversation. Pay attention to your thoughts when no one is watching. What are you telling yourself about your life, about your worth, about what's possible for you? Most people run mental loops of limitation. I can't afford that. They won't choose me. This never works for me. These are assumptions, and they are creating matching experiences. Begin to interrupt these patterns. When you catch yourself assuming the worst, stop. Replace it immediately with your desired assumption, not as affirmation requiring repetition, but as simple truth. I am provided for. I am chosen. This is working perfectly. Third technique, acting as if. How would you move through the world if your desire were already real? Would you walk differently? Speak differently? Make different choices? Begin to embody that version of yourself now, not in dramatic ways that your ego can sabotage, but in subtle ways. If you were financially secure, you might donate to someone in need. If you were deeply loved, you might smile more freely. If you were successful, you might speak with quiet confidence rather than desperate urgency. Small acts of embodiment signal to your consciousness that you have already arrived, and what you signal within must manifest without. Fourth technique, the before-sleep rehearsal. The moment before sleep is uniquely potent because your conscious mind is relaxing its grip. In this drowsy state, imagine a scene that would naturally occur after your desire is fulfilled. Make it simple and sensory-rich. See it, feel it, hear it. Don't imagine the path to fulfillment. Imagine being in the fulfillment itself. Let that scene be the last thing in your awareness before sleep. Your subconscious will work with this impression, and in ways you cannot predict, it will begin to materialize. Seventh technique, identity shift over method. Stop asking, how can I get what I want, and start asking, who am I when I already have it? The shift from wanting to being is everything. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Change who you are being in consciousness, and your external reality must rearrange itself to match. Here's what happens when you truly live from this understanding. First, you stop being desperate. Desperation is the energy of not having. When you know your desire is already yours in the realm that precedes form, you relax. You move through life with a calm certainty that others can feel but can't name. Second, you stop trying to force outcomes. You recognize that your job is not to manipulate circumstances, but to maintain your internal state. The circumstances will conform, not through your effort, but through law. Third, you become selective about what you accept into your awareness. You realize that every conversation, every media message, every opinion from others is attempting to shape your assumptions. You guard your consciousness carefully, allowing only that which aligns with your desired state. Fourth, your life begins to flow. Opportunities appear. People help you without being asked. Obstacles dissolve. Not because you got lucky, but because you're finally in harmony with the creative principle. And finally, you recognize your true nature. You are not a limited being hoping for grace from an external God. You are imagination itself, the creative power that shapes worlds. This is not arrogance. This is recognition of what you've always been. So here is where we arrive. You now have knowledge that most people will never possess. You understand that your reality is not fixed. You understand that your circumstances are not cause, but effect. You understand that the power to transform your life completely rests not in changing the world, but in changing your persistent assumption about yourself and your life. The question is, what will you do with this understanding? Will you test it? Will you dare to assume the best despite contrary evidence? Will you persist in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, even when your senses scream otherwise? Or will you return to the old way, reacting to circumstances, feeling victimized, hoping things somehow change on their own? I cannot make this choice for you, but I can tell you this. Every master of life, every person you've ever admired for their ability to create seemingly miraculous results, understood this principle. They may have called it different things, faith, belief, positive thinking, but at its core, they understood that consciousness creates reality. You are standing at a threshold. On one side is the familiar comfort of limitation, where you can blame external factors and avoid responsibility. On the other side is the uncomfortable freedom of total creative power, where you can no longer pretend you are not the author of your experience. I invite you to step through. Let me leave you with this final truth. Your assumption is the seed. Your feeling is the water. Your persistence is the sunlight, and the harvest is inevitable. You do not need to know how your desire will manifest. You do not need to see the path. You need only to occupy the state of consciousness where it is already real, and the entire universe will reorganize itself to reflect that inner reality back to you. This is law. This is principle. This has always been true, whether you knew it or not. The only difference now is that you know. And with that knowledge comes the most beautiful burden. You are fully responsible for your life, which means you are fully capable of transforming it. So go now, not as someone who hopes for change, but as someone who has already claimed it in the only place that matters, within. Live from the end. Assume your desire is already fulfilled. Feel it as real, and watch as the world bends to match your conviction. This is not theory. This is not philosophy. This is the creative mechanism of existence itself. And you, finally, hold the key.